Hi everyone, my name is Julie. This is Keep Calm with Books and Coffee, and today I am going to be doing my end of June wrap up. This is the wrap up where I talk about everything from the second half of the month that I read, as well as the stats for June. So if you want to see the books that I read in the first half, you can check them out in my mid-June wrap up. But let's jump into the stats. In the month of June, I finished 8 books and DNF 2. I read 805 pages physically and listened to 78 hours of audiobooks. And at the beginning of the month, my physical TBR was 131 books, and at the end, it was 128. So all good stats there, all exciting things. And then we can jump into the things I read. I will be talking about these books in the order that I read them rather than in their ranking order. So I'm just starting with what I finished the closest to my last wrap up, which was What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. I listened to this on audiobook and I borrowed the novella from my library. I absolutely loved this. In this, we are following Alex Easton, who is a retired soldier, when they receive a letter from their childhood friend, Madeline Usher, who is apparently dying. So Alex decides to visit the Usher home, and when they do, they find a house that is full of secrets and mystery, and a landscape that is much more aware and much less what they would expect from nature. So they try to uncover what is happening to Madeline, as well as kind of take in all these mysteries. I really enjoyed this novella. I found it fascinating. I thought it was well paced. I really enjoyed the character development and the expansion on the original story. Overall, this was just super creepy, delightfully creepy, and just a really well told story. I enjoyed Kingfisher's writing immensely, and I'm definitely going to check out more from them. But this was just so good. I enjoyed it so much. It became one of my favorite books of the first half of the year, and I'm so glad I picked it up because this was my first foray into Kingfisher, and I'm just delighted by it. It was just the right amount of horror for me that it left an impression on me and it stuck with me for a little bit, but it didn't creep me out so far as to really scare me. So I really enjoyed this on a whole lot of levels, and I'll be definitely be reading more from Kingfisher. Next up was my DNF, which was Bennett by Bowlin. In this, we're following Mia, who is part of a family that is feuding with the main character, Bennett's family. The two of them were in a relationship in high school, and were gonna run away together, but their families got involved and kept them apart. And this is like 10 years later when they are adults and both living in the same hometown. Mia gets in a car accident that looks suspicious, and Bennett is the first one on scene, so the two of them reconnect and decide they have to figure out what happened to Mia and make sure she is safe. I DNF'd this because there were several reasons. The first reason was that these two basically hadn't talked to each other and were like staying away from each other for this 10-year period, and then they have one interaction and they went back to seeing each other every day. Didn't make a lot of sense to me. Also, there was a lot of like possessiveness in this book that didn't sit well with me, both between Mia's family and Bennett. Both of them were very much like, she's ours, and it just started to work on me, the amount that was in this book. And the last reason was just because everything got boring, like sex, the dialogue, the background characters, everything was starting to get boring and repetitive, and I just felt like I already knew how it was going to play out, but not in a fun way. So I just gave up on this one. Then the next thing I read was Murder of Crows by Anne Bishop. This is the second book in the Others series by Bishop, and I read Written and Read, the first book in this series, earlier in the month. This is another buddy read with a friend, and I really enjoyed this. In this, we are following up the first book where Meg has escaped a place where she was being held. Meg is a blood prophet, so when she bleeds, she speaks prophecies, and she was kept in order to kind of sell these prophecies. Meg has escaped and ended up in a place called the Courtyard, which is ruled by supernatural creatures. Supernatural creatures are known and very feared in this world, and they hold a lot of power. And in places like the Courtyard, human laws don't apply, and the others have pretty much limited power. So Meg ends up working here and kind of being protected by the others. That's the start of the first book, and then in the second book we follow up the events of the first book. I really loved this second book. In this we have so much more expansion on the world. We take on so much more in the second book, and I really loved that because in the first book, as much as I loved it, but I didn't know how we were going to continue in the second book, and we just kept going. We expanded the world, we expanded the problems, we got more problems, more characters, and we kept going. So I really did love this. I really liked how there are threads from the first book and this book that are going to lead into the next one. There's underlying small plots as well as, you know, large plots that we resolve in each book, and I just really enjoyed it. It's really well written, and I just love all the characters. The found family elements are great. I would once again mention checking your trigger warnings for this book, especially because there's a lot going on in here and it does get dark at times, and I would just check it out. But still very good, very enjoyable read, and I can't wait to continue. Then I finally have a physical book to show you, in that I read Sweep of the Heart by Ilona Andrews. I did listen to the audiobook of this, but I always like to have the physical versions of this series because I'm not going to be able to find one. There are illustrations in these books of some of the characters and what's going on, and I always enjoy that. Plus I will reread these without the audiobooks, but I just enjoyed the audiobooks so much. In this, we are following Dina, who is a innkeeper. Inns are a well-hidden secret on Earth because Earth is basically the Atlanta airport of the galaxy. It is a waypoint in between a lot of different places, and the inns are used to house aliens so that Earth never gets conquered, but they can stay on Earth in secret. And Dina has done all types of different events and, you know, government business, and helped all these different alien species over time, and she has developed quite a reputation. But she is looking for her parents overall, and she has kind of worked with Sean, who is also on the cover here, and he is also an innkeeper alongside her now, and the two of them are taking on a lot of different things. In this particular book, we're following them as they host a intergalactic interspecies type bachelor event at their inn, and it was absolutely delightful. Like, I had so much fun with this book. There are things that come back around in this book. There are characters that pop up again. I love our reoccurring cast of characters. Like, every book we get a new plot, we get a new set of characters, we get a new thing that's happening at the end, a new crisis to counter. But we also have these characters that keep coming back around and keep coming back to the inn, and I always enjoy seeing them and watching them, you know, see them again and again. So this is a thick one. Most of the other books in this series are like half this length, so this was long, but I enjoyed every minute of it. I cried during this book. I laughed out loud during this book. I shouted during this book. I would highly recommend this series. It is so fun and light and fluffy, but it also has a lot of heart to it. And there's like, I think this is the 5th full-length novel, and then there's also a novella in there, and I have just enjoyed every minute of this. The reveals in here were awesome, and I can't wait for more, but it will be a while before I get more, but I really loved this. But that is everything that I read in the second half of June. A lot of hits here. I think the 3 books I finished were 5 stars, so I'm super pleased with everything that I'm reading right now. I'm reading a lot of good books, which is great, and I'm finally kind of clawing my way out of this fan fiction hole I've been in for like a year now, and I'm getting back to reading novels again. I'm still balancing it a little bit, but the novels are starting to take on the more of the reading than the fan fiction did, so that's fun too. But yeah, that is the end of my thoughts for this month. If you have any thoughts or feelings about anything I said, please let me know down below, or leave me a broom emoji for the Innkeeper Chronicles. But that is it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see me again, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I will see you next time. Bye!